Imagine being trapped inside a glamorous billionaire's charity gala, surrounded by Hollywood stars, powerful people, and unbelievable luxury, only to discover that the entire event is about to become a terrifying sacrificial ritual. That's exactly where Sacrifice 2026 throws us. And trust me, this movie is one seriously wild ride. It mixes action, dark comedy, environmental satire, celebrity culture, billionaire politics, and a bizarre doomsday prophecy into one very unpredictable story. Our story begins with Mike Tyler, a famous Hollywood action star played by Chris Evans. Mike used to be one of the biggest movie stars in the world. He played heroes, saved people on screen, defeated villains, and became an icon. But real life wasn't nearly as successful. A humiliating incident went viral, destroying his public image. Suddenly, the man who had spent his career pretending to be a hero was being mocked by millions of people. His career began falling apart. Now, Mike has one opportunity to rebuild his reputation. He's attending an extravagant environmental charity event in Greece, where the world's richest and most influential people have gathered. Mike believes this is his chance to give a powerful speech about climate change and convince everyone that he still matters. But there is another reason he's there. He wants to become a hero again, not just in movies, in the eyes of the public. Among the guests is Ben Bracken, played by Vincent Cassel. Bracken is one of the richest men on Earth. He's intelligent, powerful, extremely confident, and completely convinced that technology can solve humanity's biggest problems. He claims his new project could help fight climate change, but his real plan involves controversial deep-sea mining to obtain essential minerals. To Bracken, it's a necessary sacrifice for the future. He believes humanity must exploit the planet in order to save it. And that contradiction becomes one of the central ideas of the movie. Because while Bracken is talking about saving the Earth is preparing to fight back. Far away from the glamorous party, a massive volcano is becoming increasingly unstable. Scientists are worried. The geological balance of the region has changed, and something beneath the Earth is moving. But there are people who believe this isn't simply a geological event. They believe it is a prophecy. For generations, a mysterious belief has been passed down through an isolated community. According to the prophecy, the Earth will eventually reach a point of reckoning, and when that moment comes, humanity will be forced to pay a terrible price. 3 sacrifices must be offered. Only then can the catastrophe be stopped. Most people would dismiss such a belief as madness, but Joan doesn't. Joan, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, has devoted her entire life to this prophecy. She believes the world is approaching its final days, and she believes modern civilization is responsible. Humanity has polluted the planet, destroyed nature, consumed its resources, and convinced itself that money and technology can control everything. Joan believes the Earth has finally had enough. She gathers a radical group of followers who are willing to do whatever is necessary to prevent the coming catastrophe, and they've already chosen their sacrifices. 3 people. 3 symbols of modern society. A celebrity, a billionaire, and an ordinary woman. Back at the charity event, everything appears perfect. Luxury cars, expensive clothes, famous celebrities, political leaders, billionaires, environmental speeches. Everyone is congratulating themselves for supposedly saving the planet. Then the music stops, the lights change, and suddenly, Joan and her followers attack. The guests scream, security officers rush forward, people try to escape, but Joan's group has planned everything. The glamorous charity gala transforms into a nightmare. Mike is captured, Ben is captured, and Katie, an unlucky performer caught in the middle of everything, is also taken hostage. The 3 prisoners have absolutely nothing in common, except one thing. Joan believes they are exactly what the prophecy requires. Mike represents celebrity and fame. Ben represents wealth and power. Katie represents ordinary humanity. Joan believes these three sacrifices together can restore the balance of the earth. Mike immediately begins searching for a way to escape. After all, he's played heroes his entire life. But this time, there are no special effects, no stunt doubles, no scripted dialogue, no director shouting "cut." This is real. Mike tries to manipulate Joan. He jokes with her. He threatens her. He tries to convince her that killing people won't save the planet. But Joan refuses to listen. She believes Mike's entire existence represents everything wrong with modern civilization. A man who became famous pretending to save people, while the real world was falling apart around him. For the first time, Mike is forced to confront the difference between looking like a hero and actually being one. Ben takes a different approach. He tries to negotiate. He offers Joan money, then technology, then access to his resources. He tells her that he can stop the climate crisis without sacrificing anyone. But Joan laughs at him. She tells Ben that this is exactly the problem. He believes everything has a price. People, nature, the planet, even salvation. Ben insists that science and technology are humanity's best hope. Joan believes technology is part of the disease. And now the two sides are trapped together. Katie becomes the emotional center of the group. Unlike Mike and Ben, she doesn't have fame or billions of dollars. She's simply a person caught in a nightmare. But as the hours pass, Katie begins questioning Joan's beliefs. What if the prophecy is real? What if the volcano really is about to erupt? What if Joan isn't completely wrong? And what if humanity really has ignored the warning signs for too long? For the first time, Mike also begins wondering whether there might be some truth hidden inside Joan's madness. As the night continues, the story becomes increasingly strange. Joan explains that the catastrophe isn't simply about a volcano, it's about humanity's relationship with nature. The Earth has been pushed too far, and eventually, nature will demand something in return. But Mike doesn't accept it. He argues that sacrificing innocent people is not salvation, it's murder. Joan responds that every civilization has survived through sacrifice. Every generation has sacrificed something for the next. The question isn't whether sacrifice is necessary, the question is who decides what must be sacrificed. That question begins to haunt Mike. Mike eventually finds an opportunity to escape. He tries to get away from Joan's followers and reach the outside world. For a moment, it looks like he might succeed, but the volcanic activity suddenly intensifies. The ground shakes, the lights go out, a massive explosion erupts in the distance. Everyone realizes that Joan's warning may actually be true. The volcano is waking up, and now the countdown has begun. With only hours remaining, panic spreads. Mike wants to save everyone. Ben wants to protect himself. Katie wants to understand what is happening, and Joan becomes even more determined to complete the ritual. But the closer they get to the final sacrifice, the more complicated everything becomes. Because Joan isn't simply fighting 3 prisoners, she's fighting an entire worldview. Mike represents the modern world. Ben represents wealth and technology. Katie represents ordinary humanity, and Joan believes the Earth must choose between them. Mike finally understands something. For years, he wanted to be a hero because he wanted people to admire him. He wanted fame. He wanted applause. He wanted his career back. But now, when nobody is watching, he has a choice. He can run, or he can stay and protect the people around him. For the first time in his life, Mike doesn't need an audience. He simply needs to do the right thing, and that becomes his greatest act of heroism. The final confrontation takes place as the volcano becomes increasingly violent. The ground cracks, ash fills the air, fire illuminates the sky. The entire island seems to be collapsing into chaos. Joan prepares to complete the sacrifice. Mike refuses. Ben tries to manipulate the situation. Katie desperately searches for another way. And suddenly, the line between prophecy and reality becomes almost impossible to understand. Is Joan really following the will of the earth, or has she simply convinced herself that violence is the only answer? The movie deliberately leaves us questioning where belief ends and fanaticism begins. In the end, the movie's greatest idea isn't simply about three people being sacrificed. It's about what humanity itself must give up: greed, fame, power, comfort, the endless desire to control nature. Mike finally understands that becoming a hero isn't about being famous. Ben is forced to confront the consequences of believing that money can solve everything. And Katie becomes a reminder that ordinary people are often the ones who pay the price for decisions made by the powerful. The catastrophe reaches its terrifying peak, and the survivors are left facing a completely different world. When the chaos finally begins to settle, the survivors look toward the volcanic landscape. The Earth hasn't magically become perfect. Climate change hasn't disappeared. Greed hasn't vanished. Humanity hasn't suddenly learned every lesson. But something has changed. They've been forced to confront a truth they've spent years avoiding. The Earth isn't simply a resource, and saving the planet isn't something that can be accomplished through glamorous speeches, billion-dollar projects, or celebrity campaigns alone. It requires sacrifice. But perhaps the greatest sacrifice isn't a human life. Perhaps it's sacrificing the parts of ourselves that are destroying the world. And that is the real meaning behind the title, Sacrifice. The movie ends on a deliberately uncomfortable question. If humanity had to give up something precious to save the planet, what would you be willing to sacrifice? And that question is what makes Sacrifice much more than a simple action movie. It's a strange, dark, sometimes hilarious, sometimes disturbing story about fame, wealth, belief, nature, and humanity's desperate attempt to control a world that may never have belonged to us in the first place. What makes Sacrifice 2026 stand out is the way it combines completely different genres into one bizarre and unpredictable experience. On the surface, it looks like an action-adventure movie, but underneath that spectacle is a dark comedy and a sharp satire about celebrities, billionaires, environmental politics, and humanity's obsession with saving the world while continuing to destroy it. One of the biggest attractions is its star-studded cast. Chris Evans plays a famous movie star who is desperately trying to rebuild his reputation, while Anya Taylor-Joy takes on the role of a mysterious and fanatical woman convinced that a supernatural prophecy is the only way to save humanity. Vincent Cassel plays a powerful billionaire whose environmental ambitions may not be as selfish as they appear. Seeing these completely different personalities collide creates a lot of tension and plenty of absurd humor. The movie also stands out because of its unusual villain, or perhaps anti-hero, Joan. She isn't simply trying to destroy the world, she genuinely believes she is trying to save it. Her belief that three famous people must be sacrificed to prevent a catastrophic volcanic event creates a fascinating moral question. What happens when someone becomes so convinced they're saving humanity that they are willing to do absolutely anything? Another unique element is the film's satire of celebrity culture and billionaire activism. The story begins at an incredibly luxurious environmental charity gala where powerful people deliver speeches about saving the planet while enjoying extraordinary wealth and privilege. The movie uses this glamorous setting to question whether some public displays of environmental responsibility are genuine or simply another way for powerful people to improve their image and protect their interests. And then there's Chris Evans' comedic performance. Instead of playing the confident superhero we've seen so many times, Evans portrays Mike Tyler as an insecure, washed-up celebrity who desperately wants people to see him as a hero. Watching someone who has spent his career pretending to save the world suddenly face a real-life crisis gives the movie some of its funniest and most entertaining moments. The Greek island setting and volcanic threat also give the movie a distinctive visual identity. The glamorous gala, dangerous underground locations, volcanic landscapes, and apocalyptic atmosphere create a strange contrast between luxury and destruction. One moment, we're surrounded by celebrities and billionaires. The next, we're watching everything descend into complete chaos. Perhaps the most interesting thing about Sacrifice is that it doesn't simply ask whether technology can save the planet. It questions whether humanity is actually willing to change its behavior. The conflict between modern technology, billionaire ambition, environmental science, and Jones' extreme belief system gives the story a deeper layer beneath all the action and comedy. Overall, Sacrifice stands out because it is weird, ambitious, unpredictable, and deliberately uncomfortable. It doesn't always succeed in balancing all of its ideas, and its pacing reportedly becomes weaker toward the final act. But the combination of Chris Evans, Anya Taylor-Joy, Vincent Cassel, dark humor, environmental satire, cult mythology, and apocalyptic chaos makes it a movie that's certainly difficult to ignore. The film is directed by Romain Gavras and co-written by Will Arbery. And finally, Sacrifice 2026 is the kind of movie that may not be perfect, but it definitely leaves an impression. Its biggest strength is its boldness. It takes celebrity culture, billionaire power, environmental anxiety, dark comedy, and an apocalyptic prophecy, throws them into one explosive story, and somehow creates something that feels completely different from a typical Hollywood action movie. The movie may lose some momentum as it moves toward the final act, and not every idea gets the payoff it deserves. But the combination of Chris Evans' comedy, Anya Taylor-Joy's intense performance, Vincent Cassel's cold billionaire character, and Romain Gavras' stylish direction gives Sacrifice a unique identity. At its heart, the film asks a surprisingly serious question: how much are we willing to sacrifice to save our world, and who gets to decide what that sacrifice should be? That's what gives the movie more depth than its chaotic surface suggests. So, if you're looking for a completely predictable action movie, this might not be for you. But if you enjoy strange stories, dark humor, unpredictable characters, environmental themes, celebrity satire, and movies that take some wild creative risks, Sacrifice is definitely one to keep on your watch list. Sacrifice is scheduled to arrive on October 16, 2026, so mark your calendar and let's see whether this unusual combination of Hollywood chaos, comedy, and apocalyptic madness can deliver something truly memorable. And if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to CheezeDrama for more upcoming movie updates, reviews, explanations, and Hollywood news. Until next time, stay curious, stay entertained, and keep watching.